Hello and welcome to Indie Designer Journal episode 23. Today we're going to be discussing the new design challenge from the Game Crafter. It's their latest contest. It is called the MetaProgression Design Challenge. So we're going to go over a few different topics about this design contest, and basically some of these things apply to all contests, but I'd like to kind of go through each of these little topics, and then we'll end up discussing meta-progression and what that means. This contest ends April 30th. So at the release of this video, there's 102 days, which in my opinion is quite a bit of time. It's enough time for you to develop and illustrate, or have someone illustrate, or whatever you have to do for your art. I think that's an adequate amount of time to put together a pretty solid game. Okay, so the game's going to be judged by Ben Pero and Drew Lavelle. I'm not familiar with Drew. I do know Ben. So that should be interesting. What they're going to be looking for are a few different things in this contest. The appeal of the game, how clear the rules are, how good the shop page looks, and clear use of mechanics. Now that's the key for most of these contests. Is whatever, if it's a contest that's pushing for a particular mechanic, which I would say about half of these contests, or maybe more, from the Game Crafter at least, are looking for a certain mechanic to be utilized, and that is exactly what's being done in this contest. Now sometimes it's a theme-based contest where you're asked to make a space game or a dungeon crawl, and any type of mechanics can be utilized. That's not the case in this one. So in contests like this, they're looking for games that are actually being creative and using the actual theme of the contest. That should be obvious, but there are often games get submitted that don't actually utilize the mechanic that's supposed to be utilized. So make sure that you have a clear understanding of what meta progression is. And like I said, towards the end of this video, that'll be our final topic. We'll go into what meta progression is and cite a couple examples. But yeah, so that's what the game's going to be judged on. Those are your judges. That's when the contest is going to be concluded. All entries must be in by April 30th. Okay. Let's go on to something a little more exciting, and that is the prizes. Yes, I do have index cards down here because it's quite a bit of information for me to memorize. Prizes for this contest include 3 games. One is, I'm going to mess up these names. I'm just letting you know. One of them is Tulipa, which I'm not familiar with. Duan Wu, which I'm also not familiar with, and I'm sure I just butchered that, and Starving Artist, which I am familiar with because I was the judge for the contest, the survival challenge. That might have been maybe 6 years ago or so, maybe longer. I was the judge for that contest, and I awarded Starving Artist as the winner of that contest. And it is a fantastic game. It went on to have quite a bit of success. It's beautiful design. So yes, you're going to get 3 games if you win, and you're also going to get $250 of shop credit. Now, obviously, if you're entering into this contest, you are a designer. Having $250 of shop credit at the Game Crafter is a pretty big deal. It goes a long way for you making prototypes or whatever else you want to do, or reinvest in purchasing other games from other designers. That's what I like to do when I happen to have extra money, shop credit. Let's see what else we got here. Showcase status. So your game will have a showcase status, the possibility of judging a future contest. So typically if you win a contest, you get an opportunity to judge one in the future if you choose to do so. You get inducted into the Game Crafter Hall of Fame, the most prestigious Hall of Fame on Earth. And you also get all the accolades that go along with being in the contest. So obviously you'll get the semi-finalist accolade, and you'll get the finalist accolade, and you'll get the design winner of the design contest accolade. And all of those do actually, I believe, in my opinion, go a long ways towards helping you get future sales for your game if you were to keep it on the Game Crafter. Okay, so let's go over some of the basic rules for this contest. Some of these apply to all contests, but I thought I'd go over them anyways because sometimes it's easier to hear someone just say them audibly. So we, in this contest, you can have any theme. So like I mentioned before, this is a mechanics-based contest where they're looking for that MetaProgression mechanic to be utilized. But you can use any theme. It could be race cars, it could be Weird West, it could be dungeons, it could be space, it could be whatever you want it to be. The theme is up to you. There is no limit on player count, which means you can make a solo game. If I were to design something for this, and I'll let you know right now, I'm very intrigued by this contest, and there is a good chance that I might actually produce a game for this contest, just because I really do like the idea of MetaProgression. So no limit on player count. So it can be a game designed for a solo play, or it can be like a roll and write that can be up to 1 million players. What else? Time frame for the game itself. So they want the game to play in 45 to 60 minutes. So under an hour. So right around the 1 hour mark. So no Battlestar Galactica or game that's going to require 3 or 4, 8 hours worth of play time. Now here's the interesting thing. Now you can correct me if I am wrong in the comments below, but the amount of money you're able to spend on your design for this contest is $74.99. I do not recall a contest ever allowing that much money to be spent. Typically is around, I remember back in the day it was like 30, then I think they moved it to 50 on certain games, but this is basically $75. To me, I think any designer should be able to produce a game for this contest with that dollar amount. If you can't, then that's a problem. You should be $75. You can use the best box. You can put a game board in there, quite a few cards, lots of bits, a nice booklet. There's no reason that you can't keep your game within that budget, in my opinion. You have to make sure you make a video. Now, it's not required that you make a video, but it goes a long way. I would say a nice solid 90-second to 2-minute video of a quick how to play of your game, nice little overview, really helps you get a lot of votes. People don't want to read through all your rules. I'm sorry to say, no one wants to read through your Word document or whatever PDF you might have up available on the site. You must own all your artwork. So either you're illustrating it yourself, or you're using royalty free, or you've paid a artist to make it for you. Rules must be included in the game. So you can't make a game and not have the rules, physical rules, in the actual game. PDF of the rules also must be made available on the shop page. So it can be downloaded, so the judges can actually have the ability to download the rules and read them. Must be publish ready. So what does that mean? Publish ready means that you have to have the logo, the backdrop, the shop ad, all that art done or illustrations done for your shop page. Action shots, once you get a physical copy of your game, which is, it's not mentioned in here that you need to do that, but I strongly suggest if you have time to get a physical copy of your game and take some nice photos of it, put those as your action shots. Worst case scenario, if you don't have the time to do that, there are rendering programs you can use, or you can just do shots of the actual pictures of the cards or the box artwork and stuff like that. Crop it and do what you have to do, but a few action shots go a long way. Obviously, you have to have a description of the game. Don't write something of biblical proportion. I would say, keep it to the point, something that someone can read through within, 3 to 4 minutes, 5 minutes tops. You don't want to have some huge thing. And make sure you break it up with illustrations. I strongly suggest that. Cool factors, there's always 3 cool factors whenever you publish a game in the Game Crafter, a little short 1-sentence little thing. You have to have that done. Make sure all your images are approved. So that means when you're actually upload all your images, you still have to go through and check off that you approve of each image. If you don't do that, just like you can't publish a game in the Game Crafter if you don't do that, you make sure you have that done, or it could come back to bite you. Must be a new game. So this can't be some game that's already on the Game Crafter, or a game you've had sitting, that you've already designed. This must be a game that you started working on when you heard about this contest. I mean, that's at least the thought here, right? I mean, obviously we all probably have notebooks with ideas and stuff, and I think that's a little bit of a gray area there if you were to pull from some ideas you had in the past, but it has to be a new game. Okay, use your discretion on that. Cannot make changes to the game after a deadline. That's obvious. Once the deadline hits on April 30th, you can't go back into your page and edit the game. Multiple entries are allowed, so feel free to make as many entries as you possibly can. This is not going to be like the single card challenge that just ended, where I could see anyone making 5 to 10 of those. This is going to be something where I doubt you're going to see very many people, put more than one entry in for this contest. I don't think we're going to see 200 plus entries on this contest, but I do think we're going to see some fantastic games. So that brings us to MetaProgression, and I don't want to spend a whole lot of time on it. And I suggest that you can look up the word MetaProgression, do some research on your own. But games that I've played that utilize, or that I've actually either played myself or seen played, are usually bigger games. Now, examples that I have that I've played are Pathfinder, the card game, the deck builder game. After you basically beat one quest, you get to keep your character, and it's basically your deck of cards and a deck builder, and then you can go on to the next level. And as you progress through more levels and more levels, your character gets stronger, and that's MetaProgression. So what that means, MetaProgression in a nutshell, means a game where you play the game, and you basically, at the end of the game, something changes and allows you to play the game again, but you're going to have some sort of advantage, maybe even a disadvantage. You're playing maybe the same game again. Like if you think about like Pandemic Legacy, I have written down here as a good example. I have not played it, but I've seen it played. I know enough about it to understand that you have a board. Anyone who plays this game plays the same first game, the first the first night of play is the same, but you're going to make choices that are going to change that game. And the next time you play, you're going to be playing the same board again, or the same deck of cards, whatever it might be in your design, but something's going to be different. Maybe there's something new on the board, or there's new cards are added to the deck that you're working your way through, or cards in your hand, or something changes, and you're playing through the game basically over and over and over, and every time you reset to play it again, a bunch of things have changed. You see this more in roguelike dungeon crawls. At least that's where I've experienced them the most, like in games like Slay the Spire, and there's plenty of like roguelike games where you go through it, you're never meant to win the game. There's no way to, it never ends basically, and you basically die. But certain things that happened on that adventure, maybe you found an axe, and you get to keep that axe now, and then when you play through the dungeon again, now you're a little bit more prepared, and it allows you to get a little bit further into the dungeon. Now obviously I'm using dungeons as a theme just because that's where I'm most familiar with it in video games. Now you can see how that can apply to a board game. You just have to be creative with how you do that. What else do I have on there? Gloomhaven obviously does this. Seventh Continent does it to a degree. Essentially a game that allows you to basically kind of save your character or save your place and then play the game again and have there be changes to the game that make it, maybe the game itself becomes more difficult the second time through, but you have more equipment to get through that. So I do urge you to look into MetaProgression games to get a good handle on exactly what that term means if you're not familiar with it. But I do think this is going to be a fantastic contest, and I think it's one of those contests that has the potential to see some entries that go on to have some great success. So please leave some comments below for games that are good examples that use MetaProgression, not necessarily video games. I'm looking for looking for board games or card games that utilize MetaProgression. That way, the more comments we get, people who are watching this video can go down to the comments and they can research based on those comments. So thank you very much for stopping by, and I'll see you next time.